Moin, ihr wunderbare Menschen des Interwebs. Ich begrüße euch ganz herzlich zurück zu meinem Let's Play von The Great Ace-Attorney Chronicles. Im letzten Part haben wir bestätigen können, dass es noch einen 5. Passagier gegeben hat und da soll es sich um ein Mädchen handeln oder eine junge Dame. Das Alter wissen wir noch nicht, genauso wenig wie die Person heißt oder wer die Person ist. Aber wir haben Herrn McGilded dazu gebracht, eine Aussage zu tätigen und die werden wir uns jetzt gleich anhören. What on earth just happened in there? Mr. Naruhodo, I've managed to find out what happened. Miss Susato, I was told it was an advanced form of smoke grenade, a type of exploding device that releases smoke. A smoke grenade? It sounds like the sort of thing ninja use. They're just making sure everything is safe now. I think the trial will start again before long. But who would have done something like that? The police managed to catch someone who was trying to flee the courtroom apparently. Flee the courtroom? Why? Well, it's a young girl of around 15, I hear. A young girl? Then could it be the other passenger that Mr. McGilded was just talking about? My thoughts, exactly. So, he wasn't lying. What's become of Mr. McGilded, actually? There are so many things I need to ask him about, but he's not here. I think he was summoned to the prosecutor's antechamber to answer questions, along with the young girl. Who is she, I wonder? And what was she even doing here at the trial? She was taking a huge risk, and for what possible benefit to herself? There's another matter that's troubling me. What's that? The 20 pence. Oh. According to the coachman, Mr. Peppo, he took 4 passengers that night at a fare of 5 pence each. That comes to a total of 20 pence exactly. But now it seems there were in fact 5 passengers. Which means the figures don't seem to add up again. She's right. That is strange. Counsel for the defense, kindly proceed into the courtroom. The trial will recommence in 5 minutes. Oh, thank you, officer. We will go on straight away. Well, whoever she is, I imagine this young girl will be asked to take the stand and testify now. I really can't imagine what she's going to say, but it could alter the whole direction of the trial. We will know soon enough, Miss Susato. Yes! Ich mag das. Ich mag Susato. Die ist so ja, motiviert, energisch, immer positiv gestimmt. Ich mag ihren Charakter. Und wenn ich jetzt so eine Parallele ziehe zwischen jetzt ihr und Maya. Maya, also was ich an Maya sehr, sehr gerne mochte, ist, also so, dass sie so naiv ist, dass sie eigentlich für ihr Alter noch sehr kindisch ist. Das hat so einen Flair, wo ich so sage, ja, das mag ich. Und weil ja Phoenix und Maya also für mich so eine Geschwisterbeziehung haben, auch wenn die Spiele nie zu 100% klargestellt haben, ob die irgendwie mal eine romantische Beziehung haben oder ob das rein freundschaftlich ist oder eben geschwisterlich. Das hat das Game immer offen gelassen für, ich denke einfach mal für eigene Interpretation. Und bei Susato ist es so, bei Susato habe ich so manchmal das Gefühl, sie agiert so als ältere Schwester von Naruhodo. Also so genau umgedreht eigentlich. There's a young girl next to Mr. McGilded, look. She must have been the one who caused the disturbance before. Well, after that rather eventful recess, the court will now resume the trial of Mr. Magnus McGilded. Now then, Lord von Zieks. My lord, I believe you have established the cause of the smoke which veiled proceedings earlier. It seems to have been an advanced form of smoke grenade of the sort typically employed by the army. Good gracious, the army? What in the devil's name? It was an elaborate attempt by a young girl to cloak her escape from the public gallery, but she was caught, and now occupies the stand. Your name, girl? Are you responsible for the smoke grenade which induced such pandemonium here in my courtroom? What is the meaning of this deliberate behavior? If I may, my lord. Yes, Mr. McGilded. I think perhaps I ought to explain here why it is that this wee lass was here in the first place and why she tried to bolt like that. This all tied up with the events of that night, so it is. Very well, Mr. McGilded, give your testimony. You will explain to the court exactly how this young woman is involved in the case. Just what did happen that night? It's not like a defense lawyer needs that information or anything. Okay. On the night in question, I took the backseat in the omnibus and promptly nodded off. Then, Begora, a loud thud and a wee scream woke me up with a fair start. There was a fella collapsed on the floor at my feet, so I set him up on the seat across from me. Then I turned to find out where that scream had come from, and bless my soul, what did I find? There was a child in there, all curled up in a ball, hiding her wee self away. I remain somewhat baffled, I confess, but from what I gather, on the night in question, this young girl was indeed riding in the omnibus. Is that correct? This exactly as the defense counsel said. This last was the 5th passenger, my lord. Very well. The defense may now cross-examine the witnesses. Are you ready, counsel? Yes, my lord. Or rather, no. I have no idea where to start. Tja. Dann würde ich sagen, einfach mal alles angreifen, was geht. And when you first got onto the omnibus, were there any other passengers already on board? There were not. The cabin was empty and there was no one on the roof deck either. You were the first passenger, as it were, I see. Aye, and that's why I took the backside as I did. This is the most comfortable, so it is. Could you explain exactly what you mean by the backseat? By all means, this is how you already described it earlier. I'm talking about the seat opposite to the one in which the poor gentleman who was stabbed was sitting. Like I said, this is the most comfortable and what I feel most at ease. And of course, I enjoy gazing through the skylight from time to time as well. A loud thud, you say, and a scream? Aye, that's right. How can I explain it? Does like the sound of someone falling to the ground, that sort of noise. So you think it was the sound of Mr. Mason falling to the floor having been stabbed? Well, now you will remember I was asleep at the time, so I wouldn't like to say. And when the sound woke me and I opened my eyes, there wasn't a soul to be seen in the carriage but the fellow on the floor. You didn't see anyone, but at the same moment you did hear a scream? From the seats above, you on the roof deck, I presume. Not above me, no, my lord. This was from inside the cabin. But I wasn't altogether thinking about the scream. No, I was too stunned by the desperate sight before my eyes. Gott, ich bin echt furchtbar in so einem Dialekt reden. You set him up? The victim, you mean? That I did. On the seat across from me, as I said, I could plainly see the poor devil was already gone. And you wouldn't leave a dead man just lying on the floor now, would you? This common courtesy, so it is. I find that a little hard to believe. Or a Lord von Six, now why would that be? You wake to find a man lying dead at your feet in a carriage. Any normal person would hail the cabman. Any upstanding member of London society, that is. Well now, as you know, I'm in something of a special line of business. The business of lending money to exorbitant rates of interest. Unfortunately, my lord, not everyone is thankful for the help I offer them, and some would even see me dead. So I do try where at all possible to avoid getting myself in a tangle with trouble. Are you suggesting you were just going to leave the man there? Heavens alive, no, I was always intending to report it, so I was. Only I had a mind to find out the whys and wherefores first. The whys and wherefores? Right you are. There were some details I wanted to understand before anyone else got to meddle. That wee scream I heard, for example. Wouldn't your good self do just the same? Yes, the scream he says he heard at the same time as the thud of the victim collapsing. I'm afraid I don't understand. I'm sure you told the court that there was no one else in the carriage except yourself and the victim. So I did, sir, so I did. As far as I could see, that is. What do you mean by that? Well, now this is a queer thing. The wee scream I heard as I woke up. It came from, if you will excuse the vulgar expression, under me backside. Good gracious. Under your backside? And when I lifted the seat on which I'd been sitting, I found there was a wee cubby hole there for storage. Mr. Naruhodo, we can examine the omnibus ourselves, remember? Yes, of course. The whole bus was submitted as evidence. This would be a very good time to have a thorough look around inside. And that's when I found her. Ja, bei dem Omnibus haben wir ja schon untersucht. Also wir können ihn nochmal untersuchen. Vielleicht gibt es ja jetzt irgendwas anderes noch drin zu sehen. Ich glaube es aber weniger. Weil wir haben ja uns da schon umgesehen gehabt. Moment. Hier ist eine Blutlache noch auf dem Boden. Die haben wir doch noch gar nicht untersucht, oder? That's blood, isn't it? Is something wrong? Oh, it's just, well, this bloodstain is so obvious, that's all. And yet forensics has made no mention of it. I suppose that does seem a little strange. Why do I have such a bad feeling about this? So, und dann hier war ja Mr. McGilded. This seat has a handle, it seems. This is a storage compartment, but there's nothing in here. It's totally empty. Something doesn't seem right here, but I can't put my finger on what it is. Okay, nee, das sagt er dann immer nur dasselbe. Okay, nee, aber mehr kann ich ja hier dann eigentlich nicht untersuchen. Wir haben ja uns diesen Storage Room schon angesehen gehabt. You say she was hiding herself? Aye, that's right. Does hurt to see in the dim lamplight, but she was all curled up in a wee ball. When our eyes met, me heart nearly stopped beating in me chest. You're really overacting this. Still and all, I pulled her out from under there and sat her on the seat opposite so I could have a wee chin whack with her. The seat opposite? That's right, just next to the dead gentleman there. You said this young girl next to a corpse, sir. Well, as I'm sure I mentioned, a gentleman in my position can all too often find himself in mortal danger. So, I needed to find out just who this urchin was, you see. And while I was in the middle of talking with her, I heard another scream, a fella's voice this time. Presumably, that scream was Mr. First, who was sitting on the roof deck seats. Right you are again, I would say, sir. Looking down through the skylight, he must have seen this young girl and the gentleman with the knife in his belly. In other words, the previous witnesses did not in fact see you at all, Mr. McGilded. What they believed to be yourself and the victim was in fact this girl and the late Mr. Mason. Aye, my lord. I was, as I think everyone understands now, sat at the back of the carriage, out of sight. It is certainly plus... Wie spricht man denn plausibel in Englisch aus? Plausible? The defendant is somewhat diminutive in stature, and readily confused perhaps with this young girl. After that, of course, with the scream from the gentleman over us, the driver realized something was wrong and pulled up the horses. Thank you, I've heard enough. The events as explained are clear in my mind. However, at least one conundrum remains. Who is the girl? Her name is Gina Lestrade, my lord. She's a chancer. Earns her crust among large crowds relieving people of their purses. What's commonly called a pickpocket. What? This girl here, a petty thief. Mir kommt der Name irgendwie bekannt vor, aber mir fällt gerade nicht ein, woher ich den Namen kenne. Is this true, Miss Lestrade? Miss Lestrade, you will answer the question. How dare you? What is the meaning of this? The girl, she's gone. Open your eyes. I'm over here. Good gracious, how? What was the point in that little sidestep? I know what you lot are thinking. Grown-ups are all the same. This sturdy little dipper, you will say, slipped up and got caught on the jump. She got herself backed into a corner, so she knifed the gent. Go on, that's what's in your ads, ain't it? No, not at all. This is a court of law. We are here to determine the truth. Look, knives are for cowards. Only thugs use weapons like that. All I need for what I do is these fingers. I'm a professional, alright? Maybe not in your eyes, but I got pride in what I do. Let me guess, you don't count smoke guns among weapons for thugs. Oh, this? Yeah, this was in a bag I lifted the other day, down where they keep the four-wheel tracks. It's nice, innit? I like the pink pest. Do not wave that thing in my direction again. So, you admit that you were riding the omnibus on the night in question? This alright, Les. You can tell them the truth now. Alright, yeah. It's just like the Irishman said. The court accepts this girl, Miss Gina Lestrade, as a valid and significant witness in this case. Accordingly, young lady, we will now hear your testimony, if you please. You will tell the court exactly what happened in the omnibus on the night in question. Alright, if I have to. Das klang gerade, glaube ich, ein bisschen französisch. Aber ja, wir mixen hier alle möglichen Dialekte und Akzente zusammen. Und bevor wir uns jetzt anhören, was Gina hier uns zu sagen hat, wie sie überhaupt in in die Kutsche reingekommen ist, was ihr Ziel war, was sie da gemacht hat, gibt es hier einen Cut. Ich bedanke mich wie immer ganz herzlich fürs Zusehen. Hoffe, ihr hattet Spaß. Und wenn ihr mögt, sehen wir uns sehr, sehr gerne im nächsten Part wieder. Bis dahin, ciao!